Hello and welcome to a new science fiction musical episode of the Horror Ghouls. We will not actually be singing, probably, maybe.
Maybe.
The Horror Ghouls is the podcast where you go to listen to horror movie reviews and our creepy side conversations. I'm Megan,
I'm T.
and we are your Horror Ghouls. Welcome and welcome back. I already gave you a big hint of what today's movie is, and no, it is not Repo, the genetic opera. Not yet, at least.
Unfortunately, not
I know,
today.
not today. We are talking about plants, giant ass plants. What happens when you find a weird carnivorous plant and you feed it human blood? That's what we are going to find out tonight when we dive into 1986's Little Shop of Horrors, directed by Frank Oz, who, if you're a Muppet nerdo like me, know that he is also an epic puppeteer and
Yes.
creator. So, for a little background, Little Shop of Horrors started as a little low budget B movie in the 1960s. Then it went to the stage as a musical in 1982. We get some memorable tunes from Alan Menken, who you may recognize his name from, I don't know, a bazillion amazing movie scores and such. Um, so this movie is an adaptation of the stage musical. All right. So does that make sense, what I just said?
It
So we
should. It
started we
does.
started
Yes.
as a movie, we moved to a musical, then we got another movie. So we open with a screen crawl a la Star Wars, and we are warned that the human race encountered a deadly threat that stems, get it, from an unlikely place. It is the early 1960s, so we have a lot of 50s influenced clothes and music. Like it's not deep in the 60s where it started to kind of develop its own sound almost. I want to say it's still kind
Right.
of 50s. Um, our narrators, for lack of a better word, they're actually known as a Greek chorus. That's kind of like our Hercules, you know?
Yes.
Not the, I don't know, I almost went Nutty Professor. No, we're gonna go we're gonna go the other
Other
way.
way.
Disney Hercules. Um, there we
Now I'm
go.
hearing
You
Hercules,
know, that's
Hercules.
why I had to say it because in
Yeah.
my head I just was doing that and I was like, no, that's starting off on the wrong foot. Um, so our ladies are named Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon, and they sing us into the movie with the prologue, Little Shop of Horrors, which warns us that something scary slash spooky or bad is coming. Our three ladies walk us into Mushnick's flower shop where we meet Mr. Mushnick, who is basically an old curmudgeon, and Seymour in the basement who is trying to fix some plants on a shelf that goes crashing to the ground. Seymour seems to be kind of a frantic, accident-prone fella.
Which is
His
Rick Moranis.
Yes, it is. Also
So,
from Ghostbusters and also from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Little Giants and a million other movies. And that was just off the top of my head.
yes.
Um, so his beautiful, curvaceous, but perhaps a little spacey coworker Audrey arrives at the flower shop with a big black eye. The people certainly notice immediately. Audrey apparently has problems with her boyfriend. Everyone from the jump tells her he's no good, but she sticks by him. She's always making excuses. He's a professional. He makes decent money. He's the only fella I got. Blah, blah, blah. So she's very
Which
loyal.
which very funny is that yes, Mr. Mushnick is like, girl, is he hitting you? And then when you see Seymour, he's like, you have new eye makeup?
Yeah,
He's he's so cute. It's
he's
like,
a little dopey because he's about
yeah,
to compliment her on her black eye, and she's like, "Oh,
right.
can I get some peas or something?" Like, oh, this poor guy. So we see Mr. Mushnick shoo some loiterers from outside of the shop and see that they are Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon, but they're actually now in the movie, no longer breaking the fourth wall as narrators. So we do find they go back and forth. I don't really mention too much of when we see them just plain old in the movie. It's not necessarily always relevant, so we'll see them when we see them. But we find ourselves in a rundown and rough neighborhood, Skid Row, where the story takes place. And our second song of this spooky musical, Skid Row, Downtown, which also gets stuck in my head. The ladies are back in their fancy narrator outfits. If I were to give you a visual, like the Supremes, that's
Very
what you
much
want to
so.
think of. Yeah. Um, the community is joined by Audrey looking downcast about her relationship problems. We also learn in this song that Seymour was taken in by Mr. Mushnick because he was an orphan. He admits Mr. Mushnick does not treat him very well, and Audrey and Seymour separately, but at the same time, express their desire to get the hell out of Skid Row in a big, enormous, entire cast musical number. Like people we don't ever see ever again in the movie. This is their big shot in this in this
Yes,
scene.
this one scene.
This one scene. So back at the flower shop, Audrey, Seymour, and Mushnick sit around and wait for customers, but nobody is coming in. They wait eternally. Mushnick tells the other two to not come back tomorrow because he's going out of business. It's over. Which also seems weird and difficult for Seymour because he lives in the basement. So I don't know how he could not come back when he lives
Right.
there. But Seymour and Audrey try to convince him to take a different approach with the shop. They believe that displaying some of the new and unusual plants Seymour has been working with um, could be a draw, could make a thing shiny and new. Seymour shows Mr. Mushnick a small plant that he's not totally able to identify, but he believes is some kind of fly trap. He reveals he's named it Audrey too, which Audrey is very touched by, even
Very,
though
very
it's a
touched.
little weird.
Yeah. Because I'll be quite honest. I told Megan this before. This flower looks like the female anatomy when it's small. It looks like a bald female anatomy, okay? So if someone would have said, "I named this after you," I'd have been like, well, thank you for that. But she's more touched that Seymour even thought of her in that way,
Yes,
I'm sure.
she really is. So, Mr. Mushnick initially is not about this idea at all. He's protesting, he's saying no, no. But as soon as Seymour places it in the window, a customer pops in, a weird customer who's very monotone and almost like a they live type, like
Yeah.
alien guy. Um, he's like, "Hi, where did this plant come from?" Seymour, during the song Dadu, which I'm not going to sing for you despite it really wanting to come out of my face, explains he bought the plant from a Chinese flower shop during a solar eclipse a few weeks prior. And he said in this tale, initially when he went to the shop, it wasn't there. He was actually walking away from it and leaving when the eclipse occurred. There was a strange humming sound, like something from another world. That's what he said. When the eclipse ended, the plant was there. Weird, right? The customer is like, wow, cool story. Well, I might as well buy some roses while I'm here. And this starts a rush of business thanks to Audrey 2 being displayed. All started with this weirdo customer.
Yep.
Um, Mr. Mushnick is excited and he's like, I want to take you guys to dinner. Audrey declines because she has a date with her abusive boyfriend, who we will meet later on. As she leaves, Audrey too appears sick and flops over. Mr. Mushnick tells Seymour to figure it out and leaves him to tend to the plant, and dinner is canceled. He's like, figure it out. Good luck with that. So, down in the basement, again where he lives, he glances out the window and can see Audrey getting ready for her date because she conveniently lives right across the street. It's very easy to spy on through her windows where she doesn't pull her curtains. Especially seems weird, like especially in Skid Row, like you don't like
It does.
want
It
people all
does.
up in your business in your first floor apartment.
Maybe things
So,
were different back in those days. Who knows? But it still seems odd.
I mean, in any neighborhood, in any era, like in a front-facing apartment, like, just shut your curtains, maybe, but whatever. So, Seymour begins to talk to Audrey too about what does she need to grow? And he goes through all the things he's done to help her grow or the plant. I do this thing where I occasionally refer to this effing plant as a lady. I don't know where that comes from. So if I say that, I mean it, because it's a
It,
plant.
it comes from the name. We know why.
Uh, But in my head, like I know that it's a plant and I keep saying she and it's silly. Anyway, so he's talking to the plant, um, and he goes through the song Grow for Me. During this song, he accidentally pricks his finger, and discovers that this attracts Audrey 2's interest. So nothing else has, no plant food, no water, no anything. So Audrey 2 needs human blood to grow, which I'm sure is your favorite thing.
Listen, I will say this whole part and any other part where we see
Yeah,
Audrey getting blood, I'm grossed out. I just was like, oh, this is nasty. I mean, because
right.
he's like holding his finger and pushing it, and I'm like,
Yeah, he's
stop
like
it.
squeezing it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gross.
I can't.
I know, I know. So after that, though, because Audrey too does not agree with you. Audrey too loves blood.
Yeah.
And Audrey grows very quickly.
She
Very
she
quickly.
she sounds like she's having hemorrhoids or something when sorry, now you got me saying she.
Sorry.
The
Sorry.
plant sounds like it has hemorrhoids because it's
Yeah,
like the little
it
Asian
makes
who could.
weird sounds. Like it's like straining to
Yeah.
grow.
Then it bursts out of its
I
plant
think it's cute that it does
home.
that though, like it has control over growing versus like just naturally growing. It's like if I try really hard, I can I can grow. Um, which I think is kind of cute, but
Until it's
um
not.
until it's not cute, I kind of always think it's cute because I'm a weirdo. But Seymour um goes to a radio station to talk about Audrey 2. And while he's waiting to go in, Audrey 2, who he's brought with him, who's kind of like medium size now,
Mhm.
like large, um, and Audrey 2 comes very close to biting his secretary right on the butt. And Seymour catches this right in time. And it's funny. It's like a typical like Muppet muzzle. Like if you've ever seen them do that, but they're
Yeah.
like, no, and they're holding their face, and he's like, stop it, like wrestling with this adorable plant puppet. Anyway, the radio host is the first of a few cameos that I love, love. Wink Wilkinson, played by the late, great John Candy. He has a very small part in this, but quantity over quality, I guess. This radio station visit does help the shop get even more business in the door, and business is thriving, thanks to Seymour and Audrey too. So Audrey and Mr. Mushnick listened to the radio show from the shop. Audrey was a little late because she was held up by her boyfriend, again, who we've not met yet. As she walks across the street to go home, Ronette, Chiffon, and Crystal follow her down the street, again, like in the movie, right? And tell her boyfriend's no good for her. But Audrey's like, I can't break up with him because he treats me crappy regularly. What's going to happen if he's actually mad at me? So that's
Which
always a
is
good reason
telling.
to stay in a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
It's not great. So the girls ask her about Seymour. Like, what about Seymour? He's a nice guy. What about him? Audrey thinks she actually doesn't deserve him. It's very sad. And one of the girls goes, she got a low self-esteem issue. And she certainly does. She does.
Yeah.
Here we have the song Somewhere That's Green, where Audrey shares her secret dreams of running away with Seymour to the suburbs and living the wife slash mom fantasies of her dreams. This song was parodied on Family Guy from the creepy old man Herbert about Chris, and it certainly sticks out in my memory. I've mentioned it to you like 3 times since I
Yeah.
said we were going to do this movie. It's so funny because Herbert takes on the whole like the bob wig and
Audrey,
like the
yes.
dress and the oh my God, it's so funny. And his little like whistly like
Yeah.
speech thing that he does.
I
Oh.
can't even replicate it. It's hilarious
No,
though.
it's really hard to replicate, but it's amazing.
But
Um,
I will say just about that
you
scene,
please.
not the Family Guy scene, but the actual scene with Audrey.
Yes.
I honestly I found this scene to be really cute in a good
Hmm.
way. Like I liked it because she's fantasizing about I think she had like a Better Homes and Gardens book magazine or something,
Yes,
and she like
definitely.
imagined herself in there and cooking and cleaning and things like that, and probably burning the roast at some point.
Yeah.
But it's really really cute, and I like the fact that she's getting a chance to kind of think outside of where she
Yes.
lives, and we're seeing that she really does have other aspirations.
Sure.
So I like that part because I hate the fact that she's like, yeah, I don't know, my boyfriend's crappy, but I don't want to be without him because if I'm without him, he might do something worse. And it's like, oh,
Yeah. That is the first and only time she mentions that, though. Every other excuse she gives is like, He's a professional. He's like stable. He's whatever.
Well, you know what? I think she says it might not be about him, but in the very first song, well, the song for everybody, the Skid Row song, when she starts talking, something she says in those lyrics gave me pause. It was something bad. It was something like where we get taken advantage of or something like that.
Hmm.
Um,
I didn't notice
she
that part.
she said she said we get our skirts ripped or our slips ripped or something like that, alluding to
Oh
some
yeah.
type of like essay. And I was like, oh my God, but like
In that respect, I didn't actually I equated that to just like the roughness of the neighborhood, but I can see what you're saying. Like it makes sense to me.
I mean, now you know what I tell y'all every time. I have not seen this movie. So
Yeah,
this is my
yeah.
first time seeing this movie. So honestly, I guess taking it from somebody who's just seen it and I hear her say that, and it's like literally one of the in the first 10 minutes of this movie, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh no, that
Um,
certainly makes sense. It definitely
yeah.
does. Yeah.
And so, but she also says that she later on she mentions where she met this guy, and it's basically like a bar, and I think it's probably the same place she was talking about where they were like ripping skirts and stuff or where their slips.
It's a
So
rough
who
bar.
knows,
Yeah.
right?
I don't remember when she talked about that. Anyway, maybe I wrote it down, maybe I didn't. We'll see. It will be a surprise to all of us.
Right? Ooh.
That's funny. So during Some Fun Now, that's another song title, just for those of you keeping score. Back in his little basement studio, Seymour is continuing to feed Audrey to blood because, of course, feeding blood to a plant is having some fun, right? That's how you have fun. So Mr. Mushnick, Audrey, and Seymour are working in a very busy shop. It's mobbed. It's crazy. In the back room while making an arrangement, Audrey attempts to give Seymour a pep talk about him raising his expectations for life. Because he's successful now, he should have higher sights and higher hopes and dreams for himself than just working in this little flower shop and so on. So she mentions she could help him start by shopping for some new clothes. And he hopefully asks if she could tonight, but she declines because she has a date with her boyfriend, who's a professional.
Mm.
Mr. Mushnick asks what kind of professional rides a motorcycle and wears a leather jacket. And the answer to that is my future boyfriend. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but this is the time that we get introduced to her boyfriend, Oren, played by Steve Martin,
You gotta say the
with
whole thing.
dark hair. What's the whole
You,
thing?
Dr. Oren, whatever his last name was, DDS. Okay,
Right.
because if not, he's gonna get you. In fact, let me go back. I gotta go back and find his name now.
Well,
I have
so
it. I don't
it
even
is
have it on
revealed while you're looking for that,
me.
it is revealed he is a dentist, which is perfect.
Scrivello.
Scrivello, Dr. Oren Scrivello, DDS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this is a perfect profession for him because he is a sadist. And he's not a little bit of a sadist. He is a super sadist, which we explore in the song Dentist, which is one of my favorite numbers, because it's over the top and amazing. Basically, to sum it up, um, dentist is the perfect job for this man because he gets off on causing people pain. That is
Yep.
what the entire song is about. How he was like basically a psychopath when he was a child, and then he came to this profession where he could kind of monetize his weird fixation. Um, and it's not just physical pain, it's also like emotional pain. So he likes all of that. Oren shows up at the shop to pick up Audrey and apparently loves to inhale nitrous oxide regularly, because he has like a little travel like inhaler of it. He is very aggressive with Seymour when he tries to park his motorcycle in the alley, until Audrey attempts to defuse the situation. It's clear that he does treat her terribly. He gets very aggressive anytime she speaks, even when she tries to explain for Seymour, like, oh no, he's just doing whatever, like his job because you can't park here. He gets a little wild. So we do also get a glimpse of Audrey 2 here, who is now enormous. Enormous. Oren gives Seymour his card for if he ever needs any dental work. Exciting. Let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Orin asks Audrey if she brought the handcuffs, and she's like, "Yeah, they're in my bag," but she like doesn't sound like jazzed about this.
Yeah, she's not too ready for this night with the sadist.
She's not, but you would also think a sadist would have their own handcuffs, right?
They're probably his handcuffs that he left on her one day and just like you got my handcuffs.
True, but like he doesn't have a backup pair. Like it seems like risky to just
That's
let
true.
them go, but whatever. So Seymour is upset by Oren's treatment of Audrey and is telling Audrey too about it. He shuts down the shop and sees that Audrey too has wilted to the floor. Audrey too speaks to Seymour and lets him know that it, the plant, wants more blood. The plant lets him know that it must be blood and it must be fresh. Now, this is because Seymour is like, well, I'll go to the butcher, I'll get you some like meat or something. And Audrey's like, no, no, that's not what we're doing. This, of course, is all freaking Seymour out. You don't just like, oh, the plant's talking, that's cool.
Right.
And Audrey, too, gets a bit more aggressive with demands to be fed in the song Feed Me, conveying that even murder isn't off the table, which I like. I like this plan. Audrey, too, offers to continue to propel Seymour to fame and fortune, but Seymour is hesitant. Audrey, too, is so big at this point that using its vines and leaves to easily push Seymour around is just like nothing, just tossing him around. Audrey, too, directs Seymour's attention outside and he witnesses Audrey, one, Audrey one, just to be clear, being emotionally and physically abused by Oren, like out on the street and then continuing inside her apartment.
Was
This is,
this is the
go ahead.
scene where like she fell off the motorcycle like
Yes.
a couple blocks back and he
Yeah.
comes riding up to her house alone and he's like, "Stupid girl, you fell off the motorcycle."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh
Where
my
I
God."
think they said something like again, too.
Right. And
Well,
she's like
also, they're
running
making her
after
sit on the motorcycle side saddle.
sideways. Yeah, it's like she's definitely sitting like old night like 1890s Western style on the side of a horse
Yeah.
on this motorcycle. So yeah, and he like if you see Dr. Oren Scrivello DDS, if you see him riding this motorcycle, like at one point he like flew into the scene. So
Yeah.
he's really like daredevil riding with
Yeah.
this motorcycle. So I can only imagine he like popped a wheelie and she fell off. And
Probably.
like
Well, it's also, I feel like atypical for a dentist to be a biker. Like maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not really into the world of like dentistry, but
I mean,
it doesn't, I've kind of, the vibe I've gotten from all the dentists I've ever been to is they're kind of like, not like nerdy, but like, I don't know.
well, I mean, you got to be a special type of person to want to be up in somebody's mouth. And
Yeah,
he not only wants to be up in people's mouths, he wants to hurt them. So
he sure
maybe that
does.
kind of it kind of circumvents the special kind of person who wants to be in somebody's mouth type thing. So it's an odd combination. Period. The
It
fact that he
certainly,
even got through dental school, which takes a while. The fact that he even got through it, I'm just
he
like, what?
committed. He committed. He's
To
probably on
the
that nitrous the
bit.
whole time. He was like, "Ugh."
Oh yeah,
But
for
honestly,
sure.
it's really hard for me, and it's not bad, but it's like difficult for me to like get my head around Steve Martin with dark hair. It's so he's had gray hair like his entire life in my eyes. That's probably not true, but it's just like as long as we've seen him on a screen, right? Like he's always it's just
I
wacky.
and
I
I
like
found
it.
I about to say I found the dark hair attractive and funny. I was watching the movie and like I said, I hadn't seen it, so I wasn't expecting him to come in. Well, I had already saw John Candy and I was like, oh, cute.
Yeah.
And then I see him and I'm like, I know him. Like I didn't immediately recognize him. And then I was like,
With
oh,
his
Steve
trademark
Martin.
gray hair, yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So
And he just going back really quick to that number, he does an amazing job. Like he's not like a Broadway singer. Do you know what I mean? But he can sing. He's passing it
mhm.
off. But the way there's like physical comedy involved in that, and he just knocks it out of the park. Like he does a really good job. But
Yeah.
um, anyway, bringing it back to Seymour witnesses this abuse, and he quickly changes his mind, and Seymour and Audrey too agree that Oren looks like plant food to them. They are in agreement, and they repeat this back and forth to each other. At the dentist's office, we get another amazing cameo by Bill Murray, who is a masochist. Now, masochist, just in case, I'm not condescending to you, dear listeners, but this is important, are people who enjoy pain to an extent, right? Like, but they really enjoy it. He is very excited to be at the dentist and
Very
tells
excited.
Oren he needs a long, slow root canal. And Oren, who's like setting him up, he's like putting him in the chair, he's doing all this stuff silently because Bill Murray, whose name I don't know if they ever mention, the character's name. I think
I
it's
don't
listed
remember.
somewhere, but I didn't think it was relevant. He's talking
Arthur
nonstop.
Denton.
Arthur Denton. He talks nonstop while Oren sets up for the procedure, and he is high key excited to everything that's happening to that point, and it freaks out Oren, who wants him to be scared and wants him to be like fearful and in pain and screaming, and it's just not working out. It's not working out for him. Seymour has let himself into the office while this is appointment is going on in the other room. And he's brought a little pistol with him. We can hear from the waiting room that our Bill Murray character, Denton, whatever.
Arthur Denton. Arthur Denton.
I'm thinking of Harvey
Oh,
Dent. Like
yeah.
I just took me to another place. Um, he's so excited about everything that's happening, and we hear it from the waiting room that he's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" Like he's such a freak. He's a
Yeah.
freak.
Let me just say this. It's funny because Bill Murray during this scene, he ad-libbed everything single thing that he said in this scene. And when he's in the chair, he like takes out his own like gauze and he's
And he's
stuffing
like
his
putting it in his
mouth
mouth.
because he's prepared, baby. He's ready. But he starts rattling off weird things about his cousin and stuff like that. And the director did say that it was so hard because they had filmed different versions of this scene and they had a hard time making a cohesive story because he kept ad-libbing different stuff every single time. His character had no lines. So they were just like, go. And
Oh my
so
God.
he was sitting on top of the chair in the waiting room. That was his
Yeah.
own direction, him being so excited. They almost have sexual chemistry at one point because he's like,
Yeah.
you want to put it in my mouth, I really want it in my mouth, whatever he was saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He
like,
really was like super into it. I mean, it really
yeah,
was truly like the thing is, Oren is a sadist in the way that he's like a serial killer vibe,
mhm,
right? But Bill Murray, again, Denton, is a masochist in the way of like the BDSM community, right? So it's like he's kind of pulling Orin into that, where it's
right.
like he's like, come to my FetLife party, like like he's pulling him into that, and Orin's not about it because he's like, no, I want this to be like non-consensual. I want it
Right.
to be terrible and terrifying. And Bill Murray's like, woo, like it's
He
crazy.
was having way too much fun. He was like, "Oh my God, is that the drill? Is that the drill? You're gonna drill me now? You're gonna drill me now? Drill me now."
It's absolutely the scene is nuts. It's a good watch though. If you ever just want to
It
watch it by
is.
itself, it is on YouTube. Like I don't know because it's awkward still.
Yeah. Please,
Um
please watch the scene where you just see Oren first and how his patients are when they're scared of him.
yes.
Because one guy is on the ceiling because he's so scared
Yeah.
of him. So watch
Terrified.
that scene first. And by the way, he has a shrine of his mother in the closet, which
Yes,
to
he
me
does.
it's given Friday the 13th vibes. So
It's
so
like
yeah,
it's definitely like John Wayne Gacy
yeah, yeah.
vibes. Like it's really something else.
So yeah, if you're
Also,
gonna watch it, watch the whole season,
I
all of it,
just
both.
you reminded me of talking about that when there was a like a little girl, I guess, in the had an appointment before Denton did and came out with the headgear on, and Denton was
Yes,
like, "Tell me what happened. Did it hurt? Did it hurt? Show me." And she was like, "It hurt," and she couldn't
right.
talk. But
He
he was like,
understood
"Oh my
every
God,
word.
really?" Yeah. Like the scene is nuts, but like in the best
Yeah,
way. It really is wild. So, Oren has finally had enough of this masochistic behavior, and he tells Denton to get out. And while he's throwing him out of the office, he calls him a sicko, which I think is so funny. He's like, "Oh my God, this guy's a sicko." Um, Seymour, still sitting in the waiting area, is threatened by Oren's dental tools. which makes Orin happy again. And he drags him into one of the rooms and is about to operate on Seymour, which again, there's no conversation. What do you need? What do you, whatever? He's just like, he needs to inflict some damage. So he decides, though, he wants gas first. He wants to gas himself. So he hooks himself up to a very elaborate gas mask machine system thing.
He was getting ready to fly to space with the thing he put
It
on because it
reminded me
had
of that
a
movie.
jetpack
I was
and
gonna say, did you ever see The Rocketeer from a million years ago?
I probably have. I feel
Yeah,
like I
he
have.
definitely had like a jetpack, like a custom.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
like
crazy.
two nitrous canisters on his back, a
Yeah,
whole giant thing over his face. It had like little knobs on the side where he could breathe in and breathe out the gas. It was like,
wild. It was
yeah.
wild. I know. Um, so he hooks himself up, and he winds up actually gassing himself to death when he tries to remove it. So he accidentally, I think he like breaks a knob or something off it,
Yeah.
and Seymour's just terrified in the chair, like, what's happening? And he just kind of like passes out on the floor. Um, so Seymour, seeing an opportunity in this, um, drags his dead body to the flower shop and ultimately dismembers him with an axe. Unfortunately, Mr. Mushnick has decided to stop by the shop and witnesses the dismemberment through like a crack in the door or something, makes a run for it. Seymour feeds the pieces to Audrey too, who is elated and cackles evilly while chowing down on the parts. The next morning, we see that Seymour is troubled by these happenings and hasn't slept at all. He looks out the window across the street and he sees Audrey talking to the police. He runs over and asks her what's going on. She is seemingly very distressed over the news that Orrin has gone missing, and foul play is suspected because his office was in shambles. Seymour confronts her and asks her if it would be so terrible if something did happen to him. No, she admits it would actually be a lot better, and she would save so much money on Epsom salts and bandages, which is so sad. That's so sad. Seymour, seeing this as a time to shoot his shot, um, tells Audrey about his feelings for her, and she reciprocates. This all comes out in the song Suddenly Seymour, which I have heard hundreds of times at karaoke. And if you've been to karaoke, you probably have as well. So Suddenly Seymour is where they discuss their crappy lives and their hopes and dreams for the future, and these two crazy kids want to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Suddenly Seymour, we talked about this a little bit before. This is not your favorite song of the
I
show. It's not my favorite song of the show either.
let me
Yes.
say this. I hate this song with a burning hot passion. I just want everyone to make sure they hear me ASMR style. I don't like this song. Okay? Don't like it. Don't like it at all.
That was very funny. I almost choked on my drink. So, yeah, it's like, it's interesting. I mean,
You know what it's the equivalent of, and I hate to say this, it's
what?
the equivalent of the song from Greece where like they're singing is it Danny and Sandy or whatever their
Summer
names are.
Nights?
Yes. Is it Summer Nights?
The summer
Because it's at
night.
the end when they're like,
Oh, the
sun.
at the end?
Yeah,
The
the
end is
end
where
song.
the we go together like
Is it that one? No, because I like that song. It's the Summer Night song.
That's towards the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, it's them. So it's the equivalent of that. I don't dislike that song too much, but it sounds similar to me. It gives me that
I
vibe.
like that song better. You know what it is? I feel like the song is overdone. I'm a big fan of Broadway shows. It's a classic. It is a classic. That's why I've heard it so much. It's just not
Good.
okay. We'll leave it. I feel like I don't want Broadway people to come and be like, "How can you say it?" Like I don't want to hear it,
I
you know.
listen.
I know
I
you
will
don't
take
care.
the. No, I'm just saying I'll take the heat for that because I mean, let's be honest. Megan is much more of a musical Broadway person, and I am not. So
Hmm
I will take all the heat for that because I listen. I used to sing opera, But that's not a musical, baby. Okay, so I'm not in that realm. But opera, you come to me
Yeah.
about opera, and I will do you like Oren did Audrey. You'll come out with a black eye. But as far as this one particular song, it's a very strong song with someone who's a very strong singer. She's an amazing singer because Audrey, is an amazing singer. It's just it's very, very overdone. It's over exaggerated, and
Yeah.
I can't. I can't.
There's
And
like we
yeah.
also have different like I know you guys probably don't care, but like we have very different musical backgrounds. Like I did vocal training, you know what I mean? But like not like classical, not like opera. So you have that like technical training. I have different technical training. So it's like as people with actual knowledge of music, singing, technique, etc. It's like she has a big voice and it's a good voice, but there's like some enunciation that really gets under my skin. Gets under my skin. Um, but it's like again, she's amazing at the same time though. So it's like I don't want to take from her. Um, you know. So it's
But
like
her enunciation of certain words,
uh,
I feel like they're probably over dramatized for this movie and for the play because she does play Audrey in the play as well.
yes. I'm
So
sure
it's
that's true.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
probably what it is, but it's still a very bad choice to make. It was not the best choice to make.
I don't love it. But anyway, we're not gonna drag it. We're just gonna say that. And then we're gonna say, after this song, that's just what we'll say. After this song, they go their separate ways. Seymour heads home spaced out, probably floating on a cloud. Audrey 2 actually opens the door for him because again, Audrey 2 is like super huge and still bigger than last time when I said it was enormous. But just opens the door with these long ass vines, like, oh, you're home. Here you go to open the door for you. Mr. Mushnick is waiting for him downstairs and tells him, I saw all the blood spots and I know that you cut up Orin. And he shows him an axe. He's like, I know you did this. So Mushnick suspects he murdered Audrey's boyfriend so he could be with Audrey. So he is kind of drawing his own conclusions. He forces Seymour upstairs while Audrey too sings supper time, which can only mean one thing. When they get upstairs, Audrey too appears to be resting or silent or just like a regular plant. Mr. Mushnick initially wanted to go to the police, but then tells Seymour he has another plan. Seymour could go into hiding and leave him with Audrey too. Just tell him how to take care of it. That's all he needs. Just tell me. Audrey too slowly lowers its head because Audrey too is like straight up at the ceiling and lowers its head to the front, right? So Seymour, seeing this, starts giving instructions and slowly and like tentatively also is stepping towards Mushnick, like little steps, but a little at a time.
I'm just
Yep.
singing the background music for you. It's supper
And
time.
Mushnick doesn't appear to realize he is being slowly backed into Audrey too. He turns around to Audrey to's open mouth and is like, what is this? And Audrey too snaps down its jaws over Mr. Mushnick and swallows him whole, or I guess kind of more like in two swallows. Like it was just like the initial and then like whatever. Again, very impressive for a puppet, right? Because this whole freaking time, just remember, this is a puppet. It's insane. Seymour looks on in fear or disgust or both. And again, all of that occurred like during the song Supper Time. Like it's not like they sang it and that like there's so it's good and it's a good song too. Like
It's the best. I love this
it's got
song.
good stuff going on.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you have the Greek chorus in the background, and they're saying like, "Come on, it's supper time," and then you have Audrey too, who's singing their part as well,
Yeah.
uh, and just saying like, "Come on," and it's not really "Feed Me" because "Feed Me Seymour" happened earlier, but I always go back to
Feed Miss
"Feed Me
Seymour.
Seymour."
Yep.
But it's good. I don't know why. I really like this one. It's such a
No, it's
contrast.
it's a good one. It's funny because it's not one I've seen this movie a few times, you know, more than a few times, but the ones that stuck in my head were like the opening number and like the downtown songs, the Skid Row song. Upon hearing this again, I was like, I don't remember loving the song, but I love this song. Like it's a good one. I really like it. So Seymour is swept up in a whirlwind of popularity and success, but he is unsettled. This is the message and the theme of the song, The Meek Shall Inherit, which is also very, very short, very short
Mhm.
song.
Yeah.
Um, he worries about his situation. Audrey 2 still continues to get bigger and bigger. Audrey 2 is like a monster, enormous, like no one's ever seen a plant this big. He enters the shop one day and there's a news crew, or like, I wasn't sure about this part. I think it was like people wanting to offer him a TV show or a news
Uh,
crew. Like, I couldn't tell because I knew there was a news deal, like a TV deal
yeah.
upcoming.
I feel like it was a news crew, like basically there while he was accepting a job offer because they said the people
Okay,
were going to come back the next day to offer him a
with a
job
check.
with a check.
Correct.
But I
Okay.
do feel like there was a news crew there, so I think it was both.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. That's why I wrote both. So, as they're setting up to begin, Audrey 2 collapses to the floor, which by now we know means it needs food. They're like, we'll just feed it. We'll get the plant food and we'll whatever. And Seymour's like, well, I can't do that just now. Like, ha. He heads to the alley after telling the group of men and people outside to leave him alone. He's like spiraling a little bit. He heads to the alley and ponders the pickle he is in. And he's concerned about Audrey too and having gone too far, but like also what happens if he stops? What happens if everything stops? He fears he will lose everything. So Audrey comes to him and congratulates him on his new TV show contract, which is what we were just saying, for a plant show. Audrey tells him they left, but will be back tomorrow with a big fat check. Hooray. Seymour is like, oh, well, if that's happening, we can get out of here together. Hooray. And Audrey is like, together? Like, she's like, oh my God, really? I'm sorry, like I can't talk. Like, me talking like that is not convincing. Like I'm just, oh my God, sure. Like, huh. Anyway, Seymour proposes in an alley. How romantic. Audrey accepts, and they start making plans to get married that night. Romance all over this alleyway
Right.
proposal, shotgun wedding. Like, it's great. Seymour tells her there will be absolutely no plants in their new life together. He's like, a plant-free life, it's going to be great. So that night, Seymour tries to sneak past Audrey too with like his belongings. He has some suitcases. Audrey too still collapsed on the floor of the flower shop, but wakes up and asks to be fed. Like, feed me, Seymour. Like, sad. Like, please. Seymour declines, but Audrey too persists, and Seymour finally agrees to pick something up from the butcher down the street. Audrey too, left alone, is up to no good and uses its vines to drag its potted ass across the store and use the store's payphone to make a call, as plants do,
Hmm.
obviously. I don't know how Audrey 2 knows Audrey's phone number
Right.
or any phone number, but um, calls Audrey and reveals the secret that it is not, in fact, a regular plant.
Which remember, there are no blinds or anything in Audrey's house,
Right.
and there are also apparently no shades or anything in the store. So she could look
Yeah.
right out across the street to see who is calling her.
What was so funny about that is that I think there was like curtains, but they're not totally over the window at the shop, right? There, I think
Yes.
there's like a little bit, but Audrey is like between the curtains on Audrey too, on the phone with Audrey, like in the window, looking right at her and like being like,
Laughing
ah.
maniacally. Oh my God.
Yeah, and Audrey's like, what the hell is going on? So Audrey sees this and runs across the street to Audrey too, which seems like a bad idea.
In her wedding
Um,
dress,
in her wedding dress, her little like 50s.
which is beautiful. I thought she looked great in this
It's
scene.
cute. It's cute.
Yeah.
Um, so she goes in the shop and Audrey too launches into Suppertime Part 2. So that's not a good sign. Telling
Hmm.
Audrey she's not in Kansas anymore, but it needs a drink. Thirsty. Need a drink. Audrey is like, well, okay, I'll help you, and grabs the watering can and is about to approach when Audrey too completely wraps her up in its leaves and pulls her towards its mouth. Seymour gets back as Audrey is half inside of Audrey 2's mouth and screaming. Luckily, he is able to completely remove her and rushes her outside. Seymour starts to spill the whole story. It went too far with Audrey 2, and he should have stopped when he found out what it needed to live and grow. Everything took off and the fame and the success, and it just got too crazy. And he tells Audrey he didn't want to lose her. She asks him if that's why he thought she liked him and confesses that she liked him from the moment she started working at the shop. Uh.
Oh.
Seymour is thrilled by this and promises Audrey a great new life. We get a little Suddenly Seymour reprise, our favorite song.
Hmm.
Um, while they're loudly singing in the alley, a man approaches. Patrick Martin, played by our last amazing cameo, Jim Belushi, who you would definitely recognize if you saw him, if his name is not ringing a bell. He's also the brother of the late John Belushi. So we do have some real comedy greats in
Hmm.
this movie. Patrick is from a botanical company and wants to breed Audrey too and sell them all over the world and make Seymour very rich. He offers him a contract. Seymour declines and decides he must kill Audrey too for the good of everyone. Audrey tries to go with him, but he says he must do it alone. He confronts Audrey too and says, "This was your plan all along, wasn't it? Global domination." And Audrey too says, "No shit, Sherlock," because Audrey too is a sassy SOB. Seymour says only one of them is getting out of there alive. Audrey too uses this moment to bust its roots out of the pot and is clearly very powerful. It lets Seymour know he doesn't know who he's messing with and reveals he is a mean green mother from outer space, which is not just fun wordplay, it's also the title of the song and the scene. Audrey too is in fact an alien. Seymour has a pistol he takes out that Audrey too easily acquires, just takes it right off him, and starts shooting up all over the shop, which is just wildly firing everywhere. Seymour tries to get the plant with an axe, but Audrey too is just too quick. Audrey too even manages to pant Seymour
Yeah.
at one point, adding insult to injury. He gets trapped at one point by Audrey's vines and is stuck against the wall, but zeroes back in on the axe and tries to make his way to it. But every time he tries, Audrey is able to block him. Pardon me, I just need to cough for a moment.
While she's coughing, just so you know, Audrey too is a bad mother from another place, but also has sprouted a bunch of baby Audreys all over. So not only is Audrey too kind of attacking, but the little baby Audreys are all snapping at him, at Seymour as well, which is
It's not a good scene.
yeah, it's creepy.
It's not a good scene. Um, so where was I? Before my coughing fit. So sorry about that.
He was looking for the axe again, tried to get the axe.
Yes. Um, he tries to make his way to the axe, but every time again, Audrey just blocks him easily. It really does look very hopeless for our friend Seymour. Audrey too pulls the shop down all around them, and all seems lost as Seymour is buried in rubble. Seymour is able to grab an electrical cable and electrocutes Audrey too, causing it to explode in a bazillion pieces. Audrey two's last words? Oh shit. Those are solid last words.
Yes.
As the smoke clears, Seymour, all dusty, makes his way out of the rubble, and he and Audrey reunite. Seymour and Audrey get married and move to the suburbs, and in their front garden, we see a tiny baby Audrey too. And that's our movie.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, there we go. That's the whole thing. Um,
It is.
yes, yes. So do you have, before we start talking about our thoughts and feelings, some fun facts?
Yes, I will start with some alternate endings to this movie
Oh.
before I get to the other fun facts. So, the 1982 stage musical ending, which is a dark ending, Seymour attempts to destroy Audrey 2, but Audrey 2 overpowers him and eats him. And then Audrey 2's offspring are distributed across the world, dominating humanity. And so that's the first ending. The second ending is the 1986 film ending, which is the theatrical cut, which is, of course, what we just talked about,
Mhm.
where they electrocute Audrey too and they get away, but there's a baby Audrey growing, which technically is not really that good because this Audrey's still going to grow up to become another Audrey, and
But
dominate the world, most
also,
likely.
would it if no one's feeding it blood?
I mean, what if it just eats like mammals, like little squirrels and stuff?
Oh, yeah. That's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the third ending, which is the 1986 film original ending. So keep that in mind. This is the original ending. The theatrical cut is the cut that was given to people because they had thin skin. The original ending is similar to the stage musical where Seymour and Audrey, and at this point, are both eaten and Audrey 2's offspring take over the world in a massive destruction-filled rampage. So people didn't like that one. They said, "Oh no, we need a happy ending." So they gave them a happy ending with a little bit of Audrey at the end anyway, Audrey 2 at the end. But I would have rather seen the dark ending as a theatrical cut. Right while
Well,
they're singing
especially
Suddenly
after,
Seymour,
yeah, I was gonna say, especially because you love that song so much, you'd be like,
right?
that's what you get for that.
Right? So
Yes. Very
with
interesting.
with that being said, let's talk about our box office numbers. So this budget for this movie had 25 million, and unfortunately, it did not make much money. It made a total of 39 million in the box office. So it recouped a little bit of money. And it wasn't a huge financial success, but it has a very, very strong cult following, and of course, over the years has made much more money with its
Oh,
stage
yeah.
plays and people just wanting this movie and loving it. Um, Now, critical reception, Rotten Tomatoes score, critics gave this a 90%. The audience gave it a 79%. So audiences
Huh.
didn't like it as much as the critics. I guess it was a little too much for the audience.
Okay.
Metacritic score was 81 out of 100, indicating generally favorable scores. Cinema score gave it an A minus, which was the audience reaction at the time
Hmm.
of the release of the movie. So it did get positive reviews. Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times gave it 3 out of 4 stars, praising the performances, especially Rick Moranis and Ellen Greene, their humor, and the creative puppetry for Audrey 2. The New York Times called this a wickedly funny, visual, inventive movie musical with great music and great dark humor. So I almost said horror, but dark humor. And Variety praised Frank Oz's direction and the special effects,
Yes.
particularly for Audrey 2, which is one of the most advanced animatronics of its time. And I will say, and I might talk about it later. I don't think I talked about this in particular, but it took around 90 puppeteers to operate Audrey 2 when Audrey was at its biggest. So just imagine there's 90 people
That's insane.
working on this puppet, and you have to understand there's no CGI in this movie, and Audrey's mouth moves so fluidly. It
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's honestly, I have not seen there's CGI that isn't that good.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
So
It's really good.
yeah, yeah,
Well, with that being said, was scrolling on the Instagram the other day because I just said that like an old person. Um, and I saw on Broadway because it's on Broadway right now that there's actually two people that work the Audrey pup. I mean, it's Broadway, so it's different. A
right.
movie is bigger, but there's one guy who does kind of like the outside stuff, and there's one guy who actually is in Audrey who has to move the mouth, and it's basically like I forget what he said. It's like a specific, almost like he's doing a bicep curl every time he has to.
Oh wow,
There's like a thing he has to push on, and also he is a puppeteer, but it's like just the biggest freaking puppet. Um,
that's interesting.
he gets a good workout in there. Yeah,
I can
that's
only
crazy.
imagine. That is
Especially 2 shows a day,
right.
or like, well, it's like it's 6 or 7 days a week, and like many days it's 2 shows a day. Like
That's a lot.
that's a lot. Yep.
You gotta have some strong forearms and biceps for
Oh
that.
yeah, he's
So
going to Planet Fitness on his
right.
off time to work up those muscles for sure. Yeah.
Right. So this movie also got a few mixed or negative reviews, and some critics felt like the film lost some of the grittiness of the stage version because, of course, we know the stage version, Audrey 2 kills Seymour. Not necessarily Audrey, but just Seymour. Um, and they said that the original dark ending that we talked about, where Audrey and Seymour both die, was seen as too bleak for test audiences, which led to that reshot. the reshoot for the movie. So some critics didn't like the fact that it needed to be reshot because they felt like the original ending was
Right.
better.
Hmm.
Um, but a few people also found the tonal shifts between the comedy and horror and musical numbers a bit uneven. Because if you do watch this movie, it does kind of shift kind of fast between like something serious and then all of a sudden there's a musical number and then there's some funny stuff happening. You don't
Yeah.
really have a chance to like digest anything because something else is popping right up right
Yeah.
after it.
I feel
So,
like
yeah.
it's exactly, I mean, this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like it's made exactly for people like me who have like ADD, like horror and comedy and musicals that like for people like that who's like they're like spaced out or like there's a million things going on, it's like, yes, puppets, music, it's happy, it's sad, it's funny, it's not funny. Like, yeah, it's
Right.
everything. But it's like it's very specific and I get that, like at this
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, despite all that, this movie became a cult classic. It's especially among musical and horror fans.
Yeah.
People love the special effects. Audrey 2's animatronics are regarded as some of the best practical effects in film history. And the 1986 film soundtrack and performances have also kept this play very popular. Um, and any revivals as well. So people really
Right.
love the music in this.
Yeah.
Um, I did notice that this had a lot of awards. I'm not really going to go into them because I didn't really write them all down. Well, I did, but I'm not going to go through all of them. But let me just pull them back up because I didn't put them in my script on purpose. Um, so they were nominated for an Academy Award, so an Oscar, nominated for Best Original Song for Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. And this was the first Oscar nominated song to feature profanity. So,
Mm, okay.
which they did perform at that show, and they had to edit out all the profanity for live TV. So
That's
there's
funny.
that. Yeah, Golden Globes, it was nominated for Best Actress for Ellen Greene in a comedy or musical. They got a BAFTA award. Well, they were nominated for a BAFTA award, Best Special Visual Effects. Um, then there was something called the Saturn Awards, which is Academy
Hmm.
of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. They won Best Supporting Actor for Steve Martin as Orin Scrivello, BVS.
Yes.
They won Best Supporting Actress for Ellen Greene as Audrey. And then they were nominated for three things: Best Fantasy Film, Best Director, and Best Music. Um, and so they also were nominated for a People's Choice Award for Favorite Motion Picture. So they got a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
things going on with
They
them.
sure do.
Um, so I will say, as we know, Audrey was so great. And people loved it. It was an incredibly complex puppet. It required a lot of craftsmanship, a lot of innovation. It was designed by Frank Oz and Richard
Yay.
Hunt, who are both known for their work on The Muppets.
Yay.
And the voice of Audrey 2 was provided by Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops. So this is also why there was a dissonance between Megan calling this plant a female because she knows it's voiced by a man.
It's yeah, that's what's so crazy is like when it's little and it makes like little cute noises. It's like mer, mer, I need food, like whatever. And then you hear its adult voices like that is not a lady. Like
I know he's like, feed me, Seymour.
yeah. And then saying
What
like
you
all
mean?
these yeah, all these crazy things and it's like, okay,
Yes.
no, that's a very sassy man.
Yes.
Um
And people, I mean, they really loved Levi Stubbs' portrayal of Audrey too. They said he brought a soul and a depth to the character that made it iconic.
yeah.
And they said this made Audrey 2 an unforgettable antagonist. So
I feel
there's
like people
that.
who haven't even watched the movie know that line
Yeah. I
in
I knew
that
the line.
voice, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I had never
Feed
seen
me,
it, but all I
Seymour.
knew
Yeah.
was feed me, Seymour. That's
Yep.
all I knew. And see, that's all I say because it's all I
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's iconic. Um, Steve Martin's dentist role. Now, of course, he like we know he played Orin Scrivello. He had an interesting approach to the character. He was cast as the over-the-top maniacal dentist because of his comedic background, but
Hmm.
he wanted Steve Martin said, "I want to make this role and take it to the next level. So he spent time practicing his maniacal laughter, trying to make it as scary as possible, and would just do it on set. It didn't matter. He's just like out here like like just making weird sounds.
I love
Um,
him.
and it took him several weeks to prepare and practice for this role, because there was a lot of choreography involved, and he also ad-lib stuff. Like there's a scene where he walks in and like punches his assistant in the
Yep.
face. That was an ad-lib that he put in on his own. That was not in the script.
It's perfectly timed to the
It is.
song.
It
Um,
is.
it's incredible. It's incredible, even because of the way she sells it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's not actually obviously hitting her, but
Right.
it's perfectly done. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, he had that, and it's a very well choreographed scene, but it did take 4 days to shoot because of all
Sure.
the choreography and everything.
Sure.
Um, and then we have Bill Murray's cameo, and we know he played the masochistic patient,
Ugh.
Arthur Denton. And he only took this role after Frank Oz encouraged him to do something completely ridiculous, which is him ad-libbing all of the lines throughout the scene. And he just fit this role so perfectly well, and everybody was very
Yeah.
happy with it. His role was also one of the most memorable for most people, and they actually loved it. And I will say this too, um the role of Seymour was originally going to go, they asked Steve Martin to do Seymour
Oh
originally.
my God.
And Steve Martin said, "Hey, I have a friend named Rick Moranis that I think would be really good
Yes.
for this role." So
Yes.
that is how Rick Moranis got this role. And that is how Steve Martin ended up being the dentist.
That's incredible.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So those are my fun facts for this movie.
Very fun. I feel like that would have been such a different movie if Steve Martin was in that
Seymour.
part. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's
the
weird.
energy is different because Rick Moranis, like, no shade to him, he's a very slight man,
Yeah.
and so he comes. I mean, if obviously if you've seen Honey I Shrunk the Kids, or even Ghostbusters, like he's a more small, seems a little timid type
I
man, just
I
in
f-
general.
I feel like he's typecast to a point.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
So
He
it's
is.
like to see he already fits into that role. So even if Steve Martin, who's an incredible actor, did all those things, it still would be like,
It wouldn't
yeah,
fit.
like it wouldn't feel right. I don't know, it wouldn't feel
Right.
right. But
Because then could you imagine like if Rick Moranis ended up being
no.
orange?
Oh, I just got a
That'd
chill. I got a bad chill. Oh
have
God.
been interesting if the roles were
Ugh.
reversed. But yeah, no, Steve Martin was like, "Hey, Rick Moranis would be great for this."
I love that
That's
he did that. That's
yeah.
really awesome. Um, that's very interesting. You know what I was thinking about when I was rewatching this time with Bill Murray and the way that he was just kind of like babbling and ranting and raving. Um, what about Bob? He was giving What About Bob to me because he does
Yeah.
some of that in What About Bob, which is a movie, one of those movies I've mentioned several times my dad made me watch over and over as a youth. That was not a traumatizing movie. It is one of the ones I've probably watched the most in my life, but it gives the same kind of like vibe, but
Yeah, I
but
can see that.
different at the same time. But he was amazing. But yeah, that's interesting. All right, well, I already saw this, so why don't you tell us your thoughts and feelings first?
All right. Well, I don't have a lot to say about this one, interestingly enough. I think that this was a good movie. It's interesting. I think for the time it had, first of all, I love the Greek chorus. It had Tisha Campbell and Tashina Arnold. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't know them, they're from Martin. They've been in a lot of other things. I think it was like School Days too by Spike Lee. A lot of other movies, a lot of other shows. They do a lot of stuff together. They sound phenomenal singing along with the third lady. I'm sorry, lady, don't know your name, but they do a great job, and I felt like them being the kind of like the narrators, so to
Yeah.
speak, throughout kind of pulled the movie along, though it was like like it was said, there was a tonal shift in this movie that was wild,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I felt like them being in spaces to kind of bring the story and pull it along. I thought it was really good. I love Rick Moranis's character. As far as how he portrayed the character, I think he was
Yeah.
perfect for that role. I also think that Ellen Green was perfect for Audrey, even though we know her voice is a little annoying and how she says things and sings things is a little annoying. But that was a choice that she made because she made Audrey's voice the way it was. Because naturally
Right.
she has a much deeper voice. Um, and I think that all the actual cameos we got in this movie were great. I mean, this was a really like interesting movie, and I can't imagine like when Frank Oz was like calling people up or asking people like, "Hey, you want to be in this movie?" It's about a plant eating, a man eating plant that's trying to take over the world. I mean, it almost feels like a movie that it seems like a joke. Like it's a whole bunch of people get together. Let's just make this
Yeah.
stupid movie and see what happens. Um, but it was successful. And even though
Yeah.
like obviously it was an older movie, which older movies tend to be campy. Like it was made in like what the 60s or something, right?
Yeah, the first one,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I feel like older movies tended to have those type of weird scenarios going on, and they were able to effectively make it a stage play and then effectively make it into this musical.
Right.
So I think they did a good job with that. Um, like I said, my favorite part of this was Suppertime. I think that's like one of the best songs ever. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I mean, overall, I think again, I always talk about technical stuff. I think that it was a well shot movie. It was on a sound stage because they needed to contain everything. So, it's
Sure.
clearly on a sound stage, which is fine. I think that Audrey too, phenomenal. Like the puppeteers and everything, everybody
Oh my
involved with
God.
Audrey too, amazing. And I think that Frank Oz did a good job directing. I can't say anything negative outside of Suddenly Seymour. So
That makes sense. That's funny. I was thinking about what you were saying about he's calling people up to like be in the movie. He's like, it's about a plant. These people were making a giant puppet, and they're probably like,
right. Like, how do you even pitch that to somebody?
um, yeah, no, it's I think they did a really amazing job with that too. It's very interesting. I don't know. I'm sorry if you guys can hear my cat is absolutely nonstop screaming.
Can't hear
I
him.
can. I
Noise
can.
suppression.
Okay, no, I'm glad you can't hear it because it's annoying. Um, I just like to apologize on his behalf. If you've been around for a while, you know that it happens sometimes, and I just, apologize for his, presence. Anyway, yeah, this is definitely a cult classic. You guys know we love a cult classic, except if it's near dark, and then maybe not so much. But um, yeah.
iCard up here somewhere. It's like up over there. Okay. Watch Near Dark. All right.
But no, I feel like you basically said all the points. I agree with them completely. The cameos were great. The way they adapted this, the way they got everyone involved was like perfectly casted. The voice of Audrey to Frank Oz, this freaking puppet is amazing. Like it has everything. Um so yeah, I don't even really have anything to add to that. You nailed it. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I would like to see the show to actually see how
Yeah,
they stage it. I'd be
that'd be
interested to
interesting.
see. Yeah. Because it's always very different, even like Wicked, there's just that like big
Right.
Wicked thing and how they did it in movies because they are using CGI and stuff. So the practical effects when you have to take this to, I know Audrey too is obviously practical effects. But like I said, you said at one point 90 puppeteers,
90
and
puppeteers.
there's two for Broadway. So curious, very curious to
Yeah.
see. Um, maybe one day, and then I'll just interrupt them or storm the stage when they sing Suddenly Seymour. It's fine. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really have anything else to add. Do you want to go ahead and rate it?
Absolutely. So, for I feel like I'm about to do an Academy Award for Best Picture. Um, so I mean, I think that this movie is a solid. I would give it. I'm gonna have to say 6.5 because I was saying 6 or 7, 6 or 7.
Mm,
So 6.5. And I think that it's a good movie as far as like the score, the acting is great in it, the cameos. In fact, I'll give it a 7 because the cameos are really good. I think that the cameos helped this movie come together because
yeah,
if unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but if these were unknown actors in some of these roles, this movie would not be as interesting as it is. Because like if you
yeah,
see an unknown playing Dr. Scrivillo and acting all wild and stuff, you might be like, oh, that's cute, that's funny. But then when Bill Murray comes in and it's another unknown, you just be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's weird.
Yeah.
Even with having John Candy as the radio host,
Yeah.
like if it's just some weirdo or not weirdo, but some regular person,
Just some
you know,
weirdo they grabbed off the street. Yeah.
yeah, like you're not gonna even like pay any attention. You're just gonna be like, oh, okay, whatever, radio host. So I think
Yeah.
in it was Jim Jim Belushi, James Belushi.
Jim Belushi. Jim Belushi. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So even with him, because I initially did not right away recognize him either. And I was like, oh wait, I know him. I
hmm
feel like I've seen him. So
He has
yeah,
one of those faces that you know, but you're
yes,
like, where do I know him from? Yeah.
exactly. And
hmm
so even with him, that could have been anybody, but knowing it's like, oh wow, this is a really star-studded cast
Yeah.
of like comedy greats in this movie, um, from top to bottom. And so that just makes the movie that much more enjoyable because of
Yeah.
these performances. And I think honestly, the best performance in this movie is Steve Martin's for me. I think that he did
He's
the
so
best.
good.
I love him as the doctor. I mean, I feel like this movie wouldn't be the same without him. And that's a shame because he is a supporting character.
No, it's
But
so
I
he's one
mean,
of the more interesting characters. Like
yeah,
Seymour, I know he's a title character. He's not that interesting to
no,
me. So
no.
I agree with you.
But I mean, I'm not taking that away from Rick Moranis or
Of
Ellen Green
course.
because I think they both did amazing jobs as their characters, but their
Right.
characters were not written to be interesting at all. Their
Mm-mm.
characters were just, he's a plant scientist and she's the assistant, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So I think
But
that,
gr a great bra because her
yeah,
boobs are everywhere
yeah, and it's
and she looks
amazing.
great. Yep.
Um, but like, yeah, so I mean, I think a 7 is solid for this movie. I
Yeah.
don't really have any complaints. I probably would not watch it again. But I would listen to the soundtrack for supper time, okay?
Supper
And
time.
probably for the Little Shop of Horrors song because I did like the beginning one too.
I
Yeah.
told you, it's very catchy. It's
I
very
even like
catchy.
this I even like the Skid Row song. Because that
Yeah.
one's okay too. So I mean, there are a few good songs in this musical
Yeah.
movie. But yeah, so that's where I'm
That's
landing.
a good one.
What about
Downtown
you?
also gives me
Oh yeah.
hairspray vibes.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. So I wish my cat would shut up. Anyway. So I think the cameos do. I wonder, I was thinking this as you were saying this. I wonder how it was billed at the time. I wonder if it was like they're in the movie or if it was a surprise. Because I do
yeah,
feel like on one hand, they wanted to enhance the movie and maybe appeal to a bigger audience, but it's like at the same time they were just little pieces. But if you think about it, even people seeing it and it's a surprise, they're telling other people about it. So I still think it's helpful no matter how it's done.
yeah,
Um, I agree that they're Steve Martin and Bill Murray were like the best
yeah.
characters. And like let's not take away from Audrey, the plant.
Audrey too, yeah.
Great character. I love that plant. That's why I think I said to you the other day something like, despite everything, like I would still want one.
Yes.
Because I mean, I don't know, like if you just keep it happy, then you just have a friend that's fun, you know? Like that's how I think about it. I don't know. Um, and it can like help you. It's like, I'll get you a drink from the fridge, no problem, with
I
its
mean,
vines and
let me
stuff.
tell you something. Knowing you, you'd get an Audrey 2 and Binks would end up in Audrey 2's mouth because that is just how
Well,
Binks
that's what he
is.
gets for doing that. That's
Yeah.
why, that's what he gets for bothering the plant. This cat, the one that screams, he walked over a candle the other day.
Oh my God.
A candle, might I add, that is on a shelf that he never goes on. But the day there's a lit candle on it, he decides to jump up and go over it. So he's not very smart. Anyway, but that's to the point of like if he goes by the scary plant's mouth and he gets eaten, like that's what happens when you do that. So otherwise, think of how fun they would have playing with the vines on the floor, just smacking them
Yeah,
around and stuff.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think this is a fun movie. I think that it has kind of like you were saying before, it's like comedy, it's horror, it's a musical, it's puppets, it's Frank Oz, like amazing. Love the cameos, love the casting, love the puppeteering, love grabbing him so he can stop screaming. I just grabbed my cat if you're listening, so he shuts up. And you can't see, and you're just like wondering what I'm talking about. So, so I'm gonna give this an 8.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it an 8. It's not my most favorite movie I've ever seen, so it's like I can't justify giving it like a higher score. Get your head out of my mouth. And I think it's really solid. It is a cult classic. I think it's pretty great for the 80s. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing I could have changed about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing I would have changed about it, so I think it's solid. So an 8 for me. You gave it a 7. Was that your game
Yep.
time switcheroo?
Yeah, it was like between 6.5 and 7. So I gave it 7 because of the cameo. So yeah, 7.
I like that there's just like if you're watching this and you could just see like he's shutting his eyes and you can't see his face, but then he opens them and you just see like eyes in the darkness.
Right.
Black cats are fun. Look at that.
I love black cats.
Look
They're
at
so
that
cute. Look
face.
at his eyes looking all crazy.
Yeah, that's what he does. He looks all
No.
crazy and tries to. Do you guys know if you ever watched American Dad? There was a point where they got a dodo bird and it kept trying to kill itself because it was dumb. That's what I have right here.
Oh,
Like it
poor
like it
Binx.
like got in a blender and tried to turn the blender on and
Oh
like
my
yeah, like
God.
that's if Binks was a dodo bird. Yep, okay, bye. Please be quiet now in the other room. Great. Anyway, so yeah, I think I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it's fair.
Solid movie, cult classic. Our friend, our friend of the horror cast, Jones art, definitely has an Audrey 2. I've seen it on his page. If you want some Audrey 2 art, go to his page.
Link
He
in the
has
description box.
link in the description box below. Or on the Instagram or
Yes.
wherever we post about this. It's really cool. Check it out. I don't think that's one that I have. I probably need to go on too.
No, you don't have
So
Audrey.
thank you. I like how you remember so much more about my life than I do. When I was like, I forget what episode it was, where I was like, "How is my nephew?" You were like, "He's 3." I was like, "Got it.
Yeah,
Thank you." I was like, "Is he 4?" You're like, "No, he's 3." Uh, but yeah, no, I think that's a good place as any to leave it if you want to take it home. I'm totally happy with that.
absolutely. I will. So, with that said, we thank you for joining us for another carnivorous episode of the Horror Ghouls podcast. If Little Shop of Horrors taught us anything, it's that unchecked ambition, shady business deals, and mysterious alien plants are a one-way ticket to disaster. And yet, people never learn. Just ask John Hammond. So, if you enjoyed this episode, follow us at The Horror Ghouls on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and your favorite podcast platform for more chilling tales. And don't forget to turn on your notifications because, much like Audrey, too, we need your sacrifice to grow stronger every day.
And if you don't give it to us, we're just going to come take it. So we could do it the
Absolutely.
easy way or the hard way.
Right? You might see us in your yard one day, just growing, okay? Just stalking you out.
You don't want that, trust me.
Not at all.
Just save yourself the trouble. Yeah.
So until next time, stay spooky, avoid any dentist who needs laughing gas just to do their job. And if a talking plant offers you fame and fortune in exchange for a little fresh blood, well, you already know that the answer should always be no.
That's a good point. In my head like, yes. The answer is yes. It's not. It's no. Don't do that. All right.
All
Have a
right.
good one. See you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.